everybody. How is everybody doing? Look, our
Yes.
award. We've got the award here. We received the award from YouTube. But today's show, it's called Spiritual Common Denominator. And thank you for subscribing. 100,000 subscribers. Wow. And thank you for following us and listening to us. So, with that theme of spiritual common denominator, and unfortunately, Raj is not with us, but let's go with a round. Jimmy, would you like to start?
Sure. So welcome everybody, and thank you for joining us wherever you're at and whatever time you're viewing this content. Tonight we're going to talk about the human spiritual common denominator. And what do I mean by that? Okay, so where on the uh, where on the imaginary scale is our the common denominator, the human spiritual ascension? Well, on one end, we got an axe murderer, and on the other end, we got a a Buddhist priest. The Buddhist priest representing the high end, obviously the axe murderer. So merge those two together, I guess you come up with a bricklayer, or, using a job as try to describe. So our spiritual human development, our common denominator, I think live your life in such a way that we vibrate into the ethers a frequency that naturally elevates the common uh, human consciousness. And that's what that's what all these videos focus on. That the whole purpose of these videos is to inspire and teach people how to elevate become spiritually awakened, and there's uh, like in my open last week, I spoke about there's multiple realities occurring at the same time in the same place on top of one another. And there's no better example of that than in Washington, D.C. But all these people believe that they're in their heart's heart that that's what they're doing is right. It's unfortunate that on both sides, but we have to realize that the left wing and the right wing are connected to the same bird. And the wings got to work in unison in order for the bird to fly. So as a guru, our the definition of a guru is a spiritual teacher. And so that's what we aim to do in these videos is to raise the common denominator of the collective human consciousness, the human spirit. And that's with love. Ella.
Yeah, I like your what you just told. I really do. Bobby, would you like to go next?
Oh, yeah. It's such a good topic. And I'm so glad you mentioned love because technically, that's the one thing we should all be capable of. Now, I work in the mental health field with really extreme behaviors. I mean, incarcerated people, things like that. So it's like, I won't say everybody in the world has a capacity for love, but just about everybody in the world does. And it's like, how do you operate on that? And and unfortunately, where we grew up, none of us you will never meet anybody who chose the time and the place and to whom they would be born. That's all, you know, as far as my life goes, that's pretty random. I had no input whatsoever into who my parents would be, when and where I would be born, and the type of life that I had been born into. But even with that, we all have the capacity to love. But that's where the trick is because those people where you were born into that family, did they have that capacity to love you back? And so there's a whole lot of people that didn't experience validation, support, feeling like they were beloved. Uh, and that capacity to love just kind of got squashed, and and it kind of sucks you into the dark side. But then there are people that realize, oh my gosh, love is the most powerful energy in the universe. And I have got to tap into that. It's like there is no way I can reach my full potential. There's no way I can even begin to attain my purpose for existing without love. And so that's the thing that we aspire to there. And you know what that's like? It's like sometimes you get beat down and sometimes it's really glorious. Sometimes, you're able to produce a big family and sometimes you do, but terrible things happen to them. And so it's it's that capacity to love and the capacity to hold on to that by all means, because I was thinking about it's like none of us jump out of bed a radiant, joyful ray of sunshine every morning with, this go get 'em attitude. It's like, no, no, there's an ebb and flow, and there are high tides and there are low tides, and there's days where it may be all we can do to sit up, put our feet on the floor, and take a breath. But that's that is the that is claiming your right to exist. That is saying, I just feel awful, but I'm going to give. I've got a day to give it another shot, and I will. And so that's the other thing I see. It's like that determination to do the best you can in the name of love with what you've got. And some days, it's really exciting and joyful, and you're looking forward to getting up. And some days it's like just just sitting up and breathing is all you can do, and that's okay because you're still a light. You might be a flicker, you might be a flicker today, but a flicker is still light. And so that's sort of the thing I see as a common denominator, is that people recognize they have light within themselves. They have the light of love within themselves. And what can I do with that? And I think that's, there's where you were born, it's something you had no control over. What you do have control over is your attitude about love and what I'm going to do about love in my life. And I think that's a common denominator. Back to you, Ella.
Yeah, absolutely. I think love is really a very important part of it. But when I look about this theme, for me, spiritual common denomination is that this is so deep, so absolutely important, because it means, for me, it doesn't make any difference what is your gender, what is your religion, what is you come from. It's the soul. It's the spiritual family of the soul. That's how I see that. And I have to say that it is very interesting, but it is something which is very, very much a reality. So, from my personal experience, I always had an international life. I always met people from different countries, different religions, different ethnicities. Some of my best friends are Indian. Some of my best friends are Saudi Arabian. Some of my best friends are Israelis. And of course, European and Americans. But somehow, there's always these people which come together for a reason, and they are soul family. What do I mean? They help each other, they understand each other in a way that is, I mean, you don't have even sometimes to tell words to know what they're thinking. This is how I understand the common denominator of the spirituality. You are different people, but you are in a family. I mean, somehow your relation is not from this world, is from, from many, many different worlds. I have many people like that, to tell you the truth. Even some of my business partners are like that because sometimes, why did we came together? I don't know. Some life brought us there. But we do have a common denominator, and the common denominator is the way we think and the way we act. And we sometimes don't even have to talk words to know exactly what we want. It is very strong. Being transgender gives very often a common denominator, but it is not really just because you are transgender. It's much more than that. You do have something in common, which is being transgender, but I do have to say, many of the transgender people have very similar backgrounds and lives. Many things which are in common, but it's not everybody like that. I think that, from a point of view of a guru and point of view of spirituality, this family works both ways. We help each other, we support each other, we give love to each other in our special way. I think this is so intense and so beautiful. So this is how I see this part of being, a spiritual common denominator. It's really quite incredible. Sometimes you go somewhere and you see someone, and you've got this deja vu feeling. I've seen this person before, although you never have seen this person in your life. But you have the feeling that person belongs to you. And this is for me this common denominator. It's being part of that. And it is very strong. And I do think that, in the spiritual world, there is many people which have got different common denominators and they make different families. And of course, sometimes they overlap and everything like that. But it's a little bit of the opposite of the tribal feeling, the tribal feeling on a spiritual level, probably. Because usually the tribal feeling was people from the same family or from the same tribe which were close together. And they did not communicate with other people. But I think in our world, this feeling is almost disappearing because it's kind of the tribes are too mixed up together. There's not many people in this world anymore which I can say they are really pure tribal. You know what I mean? They came from the same family and from the same genes and they share the DNA. I don't think that is possible anymore. So this is my idea about this absolutely great topic. So with that, I pass it to our friends.
This is an example of what we're talking about. Elevating the collective human consciousness. So vibrate so high that if you're in the presence of another person who has nefarious intent, that they chose not to act on it. That's what we're talking about. No words are spoken, and a lot of the messages here on Trans Gurus, the communication of some of these messages is limited by the spoken word. A lot of components of spiritual development are feelings. They're vibrations that cannot be spoken. So that's just what I wanted to add, Ella.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Sometimes they cannot be spoken, but they're felt. Right? Bobby, you go.
Oh, that's I'm glad we opened up talking about 111,000 subscribers because I can see their faces in the stands. I mean, I can imagine them. And when you have that many people, you have a whole spectrum of people that have experienced the best life has to offer, and people that are still waiting to believe it's possible. But they're all here and they're all listening. And as we were talking, I was remember one of the books that came out years ago. It's almost required reading for social workers now and people working on that kind of psychology biz. And the title is "Hurt People, Hurt People," and and that is such a powerful book to help us understand who is sitting in front of us when we're in those sessions or working or trying to teach a new skill to somebody. And and that's generational. It's like it's like, I tell you what, when I hear people say, oh yeah, he's got his daddy's temper, and it's like that's something they're proud of. It's like, oh yeah, daddy will fly off the handle at the drop of a hat, and then he's got his daddy's temper. And you look back, it's like, well, his daddy had it, and his daddy had it, and it's a generational thing. And so what I've learned about my take on that book, that hurt people, is that's not exactly right, because some hurt people heal people. And I think that is a big difference. There comes a time where somebody says, it stops with me. I am not going to be just like my daddy. I'm not going to be just like my mama. It's like it stops with me. And that is a huge decision. And that is a common denominator that I'm not sure I can identify right now, except that I see it happening. And I'm talking about, you just would not, when Jimmy talks about axe murderers, it's like I've looked evil in the eye, and they look like the parents of children that have been sex trafficked. And there's some stuff that's really incomprehensible. You just would not believe the stuff that has happened to some of the children that I work with. And uh, they're on that little uh, fulcrum part. Yeah, where they can either become hurt people that hurt people or hurt people to heal people. And oh my gosh, that's where they have to experience love and hope and all of these other things. And so I still get back to it. It's how far are you willing to chase your dream of love in this world? What my love can contribute to the world. And there's some people that say, oh God, no, this is a horrible, mean world. I am here to get all I can and hurt all I can, just as long as I feel good. And I see both. And Jimmy mentioned, how your presence can de-escalate people. And it's like, I see that. I mean, I teach convicted murderers how to read. And I've got all this security stuff I can use to summon help if any danger happens. But it's like sometimes I don't even have that device with me, because I'm not afraid of them. I see hope in them. And Jimmy is exactly right. I can work for hours with people convicted of murder and be just as comfortable as I can be and not a worry. And they have no intention of doing anything except learning how to be a better reader. And that happens, Jimmy. You're exactly right. The same people that did these awful things are starting to see, I never learned how to read. What kind of world is that going to open up for me? And so you're right. It all has to do with hurting people, or hurt people healing people.
Mm-hmm.
So, hold on.
Well, I'm more for the healing of people than the hurting.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't have the same experience as yours as far as
Oh, of course not.
people are concerned. But I mean, I think that you know, you you just bring love to them so that they can actually find love. Because I do think that people which are in a criminal is because they lost themselves
Yeah,
and they probably need something to get together and find themselves.
I'm so glad you mentioned that because another thing I tell them is show me your friends and I'll show you your future.
Yeah.
That's a huge part of this.
You mentioned something about your parents. Um, it is true, you spent a very large part of your life when you're small to learn from your parents.
Yeah.
And you learn how to behave from your parents. And you learn how to everything from the parents. And then afterwards, you spend a hell of a lot of time to forget what your parents taught you
Yeah.
because you are becoming part of yourself and you're developing your own personality and your own self and your own spirituality and your own spiritual um, because your parents they are not necessarily your spiritual family. Many of them are, and I think in many times you do recognize that they are come together, but it's not a must. I mean, I was always very clear with my parents. I mean, they were part of my spiritual family. That's quite true. But they were part in a different way that people which I work with today, and I can say they are my spiritual family. You see what I mean? Then it's not, it's probably a little bit different. But it is true, you spend a lot of time learning one way, but if it's not your way, you have spent a lot of time to remaking it that way because that is you, that is it's your personality, it's your spirituality, it's your family. So your spiritual family, of course. I mean, and the way you present love to the world. So with those, and I think we are getting more or less in the end. Let's have a last small round. Jamie, go ahead.
Sure. So Ella, just to follow up on what you were talking about. So it takes a certain amount of self-awareness to act on your own beliefs
Yep.
and not those of others. And then it takes courage to act on those beliefs.
Yeah.
I'll close with this. Be the person that contributes to elevating our collective spiritual common denominator.
Yep.
Ella.
Absolutely. Bobby?
Um, Jimmy, as you were saying that, I couldn't help but remember the famous Gandhi quote, be the change you want to see. And that speaks to our personal responsibility. And that is something that is a huge part of that common denominator because I can sit here and tell myself this is a lousy world. I got to look out for number one. I got to take care of myself. And I don't care who I got to hurt as long as I'm taking care of myself. And then there's other people that no, they don't think like that at all. And so I'm glad we talked about this topic tonight because there is a common denominator, and it has to do with awakening and realizing that we're not stuck. We are never stuck, uh, and that's why we talk about gratitude a lot and things like that. Because when you adopt the spirit of gratitude, you start seeing possibilities all around you. That it's like, well, yeah, maybe I can be a change. Maybe I can be the change that I want to see. And that's really that I think that's the part where you wake up, where you realize the people that say the world is awful, it stinks, I'm going to that's kind of an external locus of control. It's like it's beyond me. But people that say I'm going to be the change I want to see, that's when you realize no, that it's internal. you create your world too. And I think that's probably the bigger part of it. And I don't know if there's a number I can assign to being the change you want to see, but that is part of it. It's getting rid of that external locus of control where you believe all the world is doing this stuff to you and you really have no power to be in the change. It's like, no, wait, actually, I've got some power. I can do this and I can do that, and I've got access to this, and I've got some friends. And you start seeing you can be the change you want to see.
Yeah. I think you have to lead your own change.
Oh,
You have to be the leader of your own change. But never forget that we are in a society, and like you want to receive some compassion from others, you probably want to give compassion to others too. Anyway, with those words, thank you very much for looking at our Transgurus.
yes,
Thank
yes.
you very much for giving us this.
Mm, yes, 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 yes. I'm so grateful.
And we'll see you next week, okay? Bye,
Yes. Bye
everybody.
bye, bye bye.
Hey,
Come back and see
Namaste.
us.
namaste.